Well, I think this time I'm going to tell you a story that it's kind of embarrassing to me, but I think that everybody has a story similar to this. And I think I'll give it to you anyway. I've repented of it since it happened. And as you hear about it, you will know that it's no great repentance problem, but it was certainly embarrassing. I remember when I was in junior high, it was really important, that to the teachers and the administration to have a dance once a month at least. So we had the old gym, which was upstairs on the main floor, and all of the classrooms were downstairs under the gym. Doesn't that sound wonderful? It was, believe me. We never ever went down there when somebody was doing something upstairs, but the dance was coming up and I was really concerned about it because I didn't really know how to dance. Nobody had taught me how to dance. I had four sisters older than me, but not one. Well, they probably tried to get me to learn, but girls. And then all of a sudden you're in junior high, and all of a sudden there's a dance, and all of a sudden you don't want to seem like a loser, so you want to get out there and dance. Well, I walked down just before the dance started. I walked down to the restroom, which was downstairs also. And as I turned the corner at the bottom of the stairs to go into the restroom, I saw Milford Murdoch. He was just on his way out. And we could hardly hear each other because of the loudness of the band that was upstairs just above our heads. And I told him of my concern, and he had the same concern. Now, Milford Murdoch was my sister Margaret's husband's, Roland, little brother. So a small circle we run in. Anyway, he had the same problem that I had. So we decided, well, okay, there's some music upstairs. Let's see if we can come up with something, because I kind of knew what the foxtrot was. And so I thought maybe I could teach him how to do that. So I put my hand on his waist and my other hand in his hand, and he put his hand on my shoulder and the other hand up into my right hand. Now, we never thought what that might look like. We were just trying to learn how to dance. And so we started dancing. And as we got started, we kind of needed to look at our feet. So we both moved our heads forward and looked down, which, if you can imagine that in your mind, of course, where else could you imagine it? But it kind of makes you look like you're dancing cheek to cheek in the bathroom. And that's kind of a rough way to start. Well, we didn't realize that, but we were dancing. And lo and behold, guess who came in? My baseball coach. And he says, "Hey, boys, what are you doing?" And we popped our heads up and moved apart, and we were embarrassed and everything. And he laughed and walked into the little room that he had to walk into. And we thought, well, okay, we practiced for a little while. We can do a little bit. So we went upstairs and went over on the south side of the gym where we were sitting. All the boys sat in the same place, and all the girls sat on the other side. And I thought, how am I going to ever walk across that floor and choose somebody? And who should I choose? So I decided, let's see. I don't want to get somebody that's too popular, because if I get somebody that's too popular and I really screw up, it's going to be pretty bad. And I don't want to get somebody that's not popular. I need to have somebody that's just kind of in between. And sure enough, I came up with Edna. Now, Edna was a good kid. She was really all right. She was that good old middle of the road, solid person that you could rely on. She was the bishop's daughter. So I thought, that's the right one. I'll go ask Edna to dance with me. And the music continued, and we were all sitting. It just barely started by then, because they were just practicing when we were practicing. We didn't know that. But so we were sitting there, and I decided, okay, there had been one guy go across the floor and pick a girl, and they were out there wrestling around trying to make it look like a dance. So that gave me a little courage, and I got up and walked across. That was the longest floor. I've run many gym courts in my life. That's wider than anything was ever long in my experience. I finally got to her and I said, "Would you like to dance?" And she said, "Oh, yes." I don't know why she was so anxious. That really shocked me, and I was worried about it. But she stood up and she put her right hand in my left hand, and I put my right hand on her waist. And that made me feel a little funny, because I'd never done that before. And yes, their waists do feel a little different than Milford Murdoch's. And she put her left hand on my shoulder, and we began the foxtrot. And I couldn't figure out what was going wrong, because we were going step, step, clump, step, clump, step, step, clump. And what the heck is wrong? And I looked down carefully, and she was wearing a great big old cast. Oh, was I embarrassed. Now, I shouldn't have been embarrassed, but I was just embarrassed. No matter what you say I should have been, I was embarrassed. And I looked up for just a second. We were down at the front end of the gym, and there was my coach, and he looked at me and he was laughing. He just thought that was the funniest thing he ever saw. Well, that wasn't too exciting to me, I tell you, but we got through the dance, and I finally danced with some others, and it was an okay beginning. It was an okay beginning, but I certainly didn't expect that I would find somebody with lead socks. I had no idea that she had injured her poor little foot. Years and years later, in fact, only about 5 years ago, or 6, or whatever it was, my brother-in-law, Paul Winward, had a funeral, and he was from Dayton, Idaho, which is where she was from. And I walked into the chapel, and there she was. And I said hello to her, and she was cordial and nice, as she always was. And we somehow in our conversation we talked about that particular dance, and I said something about her cast, and she said, "Oh, it's all right, Abe." He says, "I didn't mind." I thought, you're not the one that was supposed to mind. I thought it was me. But when you're a teenager, lots of things are screwed up in your mind. And then after you're a teenager, you spend the rest of your life repenting of silly things that kind of hold you back. You open up and you let the Lord know how you feel about what you want to be and what a relationship you want to have with Him. It's really important. And thank you so much for listening to this one, because it was cornier than heck.